do it that way.
Oh, wow, that's new.
That is new.
All right, so welcome everyone. There's a couple of you I think maybe I haven't met yet. My name is Amin Kaduri. I'm the CEO of the APTA, and I have several members of the APTA League Committee on here with me, including the president of the board of the APTA board, Tiernan Cabana, Damian Johnston, who helps run the Fairfield County League, and it's nice to see we've got other board members as well as it looks like at least a half dozen people who run some of the different leagues around the country. So thanks for tuning in for what it will be the first of our series of League Summit Zoom calls, each on a different topic. Tonight's topic will be sponsorship. And the thought here is a lot of leagues are really new to paddle scores. Some, this was the first season. Some may have been on for 2 seasons, but everyone's still relatively new to paddle scores. And one of the things that I thought would be very helpful for people who run leagues is to see what some of the other leagues around the country have done in terms of raising local sponsorship money using their paddle score site. So that's the main gist of this. And so I've asked a couple of league heads, Tim Polk from Baltimore, Bruce Dixon from Atlanta, who have done a particularly good job, along with our Boston League. You know, those are the 3 leagues that I'm the most familiar with that have actually raised some sponsorship dollars by reaching out to people in their leagues and some other avenues. So that is really the gist of this. So I wanted to turn it over. I'll start with Tim here, and Tim, I'll share the screen and show your Baltimore site, just so people can see what you've done. But you know, before I get going, any questions just from the group before we get going? All right, let's dive right into it. So Tim Polk runs the Baltimore Men's League, and here is his site. And so you can see, just by way of background, so there's 2 different places where you can have sponsors you know, branded on your site. There is this rotating logo here, which is what you can see, Xenon and NCM Capital. And that is clickable through to their website. And then down here where it says Baltimore Men's Indoor Club Paddle League is proudly sponsored by, here you can put many more sponsors as well. So Tim, if you wouldn't mind just you know, discussing kind of how you found these sponsors and went about getting them on your site.
Sure. So hi everybody. Basically, I knew nothing about it, and it was through the fact that Boston and the Means League had sponsors that gave us the idea of it. We just developed a board in Baltimore this year, and that was one of our action items. So they just sort of fell in our lap, honestly. The Cocos Group is a real estate firm, and the woman who wanted to be sponsored or wanted to sponsor the site is the girlfriend of one of the board members. So has a connection to paddle, saw our website, thought it was be a way to drum up business. So she was, I think, one of the first. And MCM Capital is a financial institute here in town that 2 of the active guys in our league work there. So we just sent out an email league-wide using the Paddle Scores website broadcast email feature, and just said, look, we're interested in offering sponsorship for anyone interested. We didn't, you know, I think we ended up charging $500 to have your site linked on ours. So if somebody clicks on it, it goes directly to their site, as Amin said. A couple of our sponsors came in late, and we ended up just charging them half, $250. So we didn't really expect to have 4 sponsors, but that's what happened. The My Paddle, and Xenon Paddle also were looking to get their name out on different paddle websites. So they approached us, frankly. but I'd never done anything like it. Our league had never done it. It was very easy, and it generated, you know, a little extra income for us, which is nice because we're trying to do new things. We're trying to build the league and do live streaming and some other things, and those funds will help us to try to do that.
Great, thank you, Tim. Bruce, do you want to share your experience with Peachtree? Looks like, I know prior to coming on to Paddle Scores, you guys had already done quite a bit with sponsorships, and looks like you've translated that over to Paddle Scores. So here's the Peachtree site, and I'll turn it over to Bruce.
Sure, thanks, Amin. So for the Peachtree Paddle League, we've had sponsors for as long as I've been in the league, like 7 years. It probably goes back to the beginning. I know Peter's on as well can add to it, because you know, our sponsorship is a combination for our league and for our tournament that we put on every year. So the money comes in, it's actually used for both expenses that we have, in addition to any league fees that we have and tournament fees. Most of our sponsors, you know, on here, you know, there's a combination of cash contributors. They provide us, you know, anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for that. And some of these are sponsors of product. You get Jekyll Brewery on there. They provide beer for our tournament and the party afterwards. The others have provided materials associated with our party. Could be water. You know, we sponsor that we have is our caterer, and he gives us a discount off his normal prices for the party. But most of these, or all of these, are related to members of our league. You know, they're small business owners, so they do it. They've been doing it, you know, some probably for 10 plus years. Other sponsors we have are for tournaments for the favors, you know, to put the logos on the favors. And, you know, we charge, you know, generally about $15 per favor for that. So depending on the tournament size and what we're expecting each year, we do that. And that's been a variety. We usually limit that to one or two. Sometimes it's the same for the men's and women's tournament. Others, you know, we have different sponsors for each one of those. But they, you know, like I said, everybody is, you know, associated. They play in the league, or, you know, they could be, like I said, a vendor that we use that we get some discount for. You know, we have placed everybody down in that lower box. I mean, I guess I'll have to figure out how we go about getting that rotating sponsorship done, you know, so that, you know, we can add a little more distinction between levels, you know, if possible, for that, you know, and see what that does. Because I think you guys also send, you know, have the logo on your emails that go out of the league site. So I think that's something that, you know, we would like to look at anyways.
Yeah, so I'll pick it up from there. Thank you, Bruce and Tim. So the Boston League does something very similar. Like Tim, we sent out an email to our league at the beginning of the season, or before the beginning of the season, saying we were looking for sponsors for the league. And here's our Boston site. So in addition to Xenon Paddle, which is trying to, you know, break into take some market share from the two main providers of balls. We also had a local real estate company, you know, someone who plays in the league, who was one of our lead sponsors. And so we charged $2,000 to be here in this rotating window. And that also includes every single email that goes out to everyone in our league, whether it's from a captain, a league admin, or anyone. This one was forwarded, so it actually shows up twice. The logos show up twice. But like, for instance, when I send out an email to my team with here's the lineup and here are the times, you know, the footer of the email says the league is sponsored by Columbus and Over and Xenon. So that was part of why we charged more for that rotating box up top, because it comes with this, you know, there's hundreds of emails that go out like this over the course of the season from captains and from league admins. And so it's good exposure for those sponsors. For the rest of our sponsors, who I believe we only, the rest of these sponsors are people that sponsor some of our local tournaments and are paying much less. And one thing I wanted to share with you all is the treasurer of our league put together is this on the Excel spreadsheet? Dame, can you?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if I can figure this out. We put together a price. We put together this, which I'm happy to share. Drew Sawyer, who's the treasurer of the Greater Boston Platform Tennis Association, put this together. We started to get some people asking us, well, what do you charge? And we had really no idea what we should be charging. So this was kind of a stab in the dark of what to charge. And we have about 1,200 players in our league. And so, part of what you can charge is, probably related to how many people who are in your leagues, but we run the Boston Open and also, some local tournaments as well as the men's league. And so this is just kind of a pricing sheet of what we put together, at least to start. So that's really it. I just wanted to, there are several leagues represented certainly here on this call, and obviously all leagues around the country will have access to this. And so we just wanted to make sure you guys are all aware that just by reaching out to your membership, it's very possible that you could get, hundreds to several thousands of dollars to help support whatever you're doing in your league, whether it's throwing parties, putting on tournaments, buying trophies or banners for the winners of series or divisions. There are people who do want to reach this the demographic of paddle players. So thought it was worth sharing with all of you what our experiences have been with paddle scores. And it's fairly easy to get set up. What you've seen from the Boston, Baltimore, and Atlanta sites, fairly easy to do on all of your sites as well. So with that, I'll stop talking, take any questions that any of you may have out there.
I mean, along with your spreadsheet, we put together a Word document, or actually a PDF saying this is what you get for each level. I mean, we have broken down whether, we put your name on a banner that we post on each of our webs, court sites, what goes out on the tournament information, or whether, we're looking for leagues, if we're going to send people to nationals, whether we would prepare a t-shirt for them to go with the team, but we didn't have anybody attend, so we didn't do that.
Bruce, would you mind if we share, would you share that?
Yeah.
That you could
I'll send it off to you.
That's great. And I'm willing to share, what we put together in Boston as well. Any other questions, comments?
The only other thing we thought about when we did this was we were careful not to have our sponsors overlap. So if somebody came in, like a paddle manufacturer, we wouldn't want to, and Xenon was sponsoring us, we wouldn't then let biking sponsor us. So,
right.
And also, we're much more naive than you guys, but all I did was I did send a broadcast email to every single person in the league 2 weeks apart for each sponsor. Like I just said, this is our sponsor this year. They're great. But thank you very much for sponsoring us. And if you have any needs, please consider them. So just, as a little, we don't have links on our emails. That's a great idea. I didn't know that was possible, but it as sort of a way around that, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's a
Tim,
good point. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
Tim.
it's turning. I was just curious, did you get any pushback from your league for those? I guess you sent 2 emails, right? No pushback, send it out.
I sent 4 emails, one for each sponsor. They were
Got
each
it.
2 weeks apart, and they were just broadcast. And no, I don't know if they did anything. I don't know if anybody, did anything, bought anything or whatever, but I have no feedback on that, but nobody complained.
Yeah, we did the same thing, Tim, kind of introducing our sponsors and thanking them for supporting the league.
In one email, I'm just trying to get down the nitty gritty, 1 or 2.
I'll have to check. I think we did 2 separate ones, one for each of the sponsors, the main league sponsors.
Okay.
When you were reaching out to these various companies, did you feel the need to identify specifics of what their money would go to, or was it just in support of the league?
Ours was just in support of the league, frankly.
Ours too.
Because versus the tournament sponsors where they would get kind of local, local banners and maybe not windscreens, but what am I thinking of? Snowboards at tournaments. So that, these were all specific for league sponsorship.
And what about if you went over, would you then have a plan to support nationals, or if you got too many sponsors to support, or is that just not going to happen?
That would be a good problem to have. But so, and this kind of leads to a broader question: is what do we do with the funds that we're raising from our league membership as well? And so in addition to kind of in Boston, and this may be different in Baltimore and Atlanta or other leagues as well. We buy the banners for the division winners. We support the Boston Open. We put a fairly substantial amount of money to support the Boston Open because we want to attract, we want to be a Grand Prix and we want to attract the best players to come. So we raise a lot of money for that to set up stadium seating, throw a big party for all the spectators. Part of it will go into that. We're also saving up for nationals, which is very expensive to put on. So there are a lot of different uses. And now we're considering doing what I think both Philadelphia and Chicago do. Once we get a war chest big enough, we actually want to do something similar to what the APTA does with its grants and loans program and help support anyone who's building a public access facility or adding a public access court in our area. We'd like to also, help out and contribute to that as well. So there can never be enough support. If there are no other questions or comments on the paddle scores front, what you can do with sponsorship there. Well, one thing that, and I'm going to send this out in an email because we probably only have 15, 20% of the leagues represented here. This is something I'm going to ask of all the league heads. One thing that we are working on now that we have pretty much every league in the country on paddle scores. One thing the APTA would like to do, and as most of you know, when you require APTA membership of everyone in your league, the APTA pays for your paddle scores fee. So one thing that we would love to do, if we can find the right sponsor, is we'd like to use, so everyone's league site looks fairly similar. What we'd like to do is try to raise money from a national sponsor that wants to reach every league in the country, and use probably some of this space up top here, right near where it says proud member of the APTA, and offer someone the ability to be the sponsor of all leagues in the country. So to do that, we would certainly want to make sure that everyone who runs a league is comfortable with us doing that with their site. And so, we'll give people the option of opting out of that. But so that's one of two questions that I will ask of all league heads. If people are comfortable with us trying to go out and raise money for a national sponsor for all leagues, because frankly, while the APTA has its own website, frankly, most people live on their league site, right? Like week in and week out, sometimes day in and day out. That's where people are really spending their time. And so if, we do have a very attractive demographic. If you want to reach it, it's much easier to reach it through our league sites than it is through the APTA site, which is really, mostly people who play in tournaments go to that, or people looking for other kinds of information. But really the eyeballs, the time spent is really on the league site. So we think there's a great opportunity for us to raise money, find a national sponsor. So we'll be asking all of you if you're comfortable with us, taking some part of the real estate of that top banner and offering it up to a national sponsor. And then the other question, and that I'm going to ask of all of you is, we have some sponsors like Fusion in particular. Fusion, for those who don't know, they are our preferred vendor for favors for tournaments. And frankly, who they really want to reach are all of you. And one thing that they have done with several of our leagues, including mine, and I think Fairfield County and Baltimore, is they will do pop-up stores on your site and they will create swag with your local league logo on it. And so, I mean, that's, it's fun for our leagues, and it's also good business for Fusion. So we've told Fusion that we would give them access to leagues in one of two ways. One, our league committee from the APTA would send an email out on their behalf saying, if you'd like a pop-up store on your site, here's Fusion's contact info. If you're not interested, you can ignore it. The one thing they would love is to email all of you directly. And so we are going to ask permission, or ask each of you if there's one person in your league who would like to be a contact person for a company like Fusion that's looking to access the head of a league who can help facilitate a pop-up type store. And if you're not comfortable with it, we get it, and we'll tell Fusion that. But if you are comfortable with it, that's something that's valuable to them. So those are the two questions in the follow-up email that we'll send out, that I'll be asking of all of you. So and I think most of us who have used Fusion and their pop-up stores have been pretty happy with it. I think both, Tiernan's league and Damien's league, and I think Tim's league have all used them. So it's there if you want it. People like having logoed t-shirts, quarter zips, whatever it is. So
with a significant kickback. I mean, really, we took like 10%, which is meaningful for us. If we sold, $5,000 or $6,000, we made, $500, $600, $700, $800, and that was just sort of the first year. So it's not without benefits, mutual benefits.
Good point. I forgot that. That's
what I did.
Yeah,
like
I was
about
like,
that
I was
one-
like, there's a percentage.
Hey,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what I liked about that one is that it was an opportunity that also was, it created revenue for the league, right? So it's not just someone selling something to us, the leagues, but it was someone offering us a way to not only for them to grow their business, but for us to benefit from it financially as well. So that was an easy one if they didn't already have my email address.
Yeah.
For you to give them.
Yeah, super easy. They did it, and they did it all. We send them a logo, picked out the gear, done.
I'm wearing my Fusion hat for my league now.
And they've been a nice supporter of the APTA and the sport. So, sorry, Peter.
Question for the national sponsor who would be on the website. Two questions. What are we likely to be able to that sponsor? What are we thinking, or what's the proposal? And then two, would it just be a single sponsor, or might there be more than one?
Good question. We're, and Jim Getchy is on the line here, who runs the APTA sponsorship committee. And we think that we could potentially charge as much as $50,000 to reach every league player in the country. And, Paddle Scores actually does a nice job of tracking hit counts to the homepage. And there was between 1 million and 1.5 million hits to leagues website homepages this past season. And so that is, to the point of this is where people live. We just need to, we're just getting the last few leagues going on this. And, once we get everyone out there, our hope is to really, this could be one of our more valuable properties. We just haven't gone out and really marketed it hard yet.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. To look at a national sponsor in the realm of 50 to 75 grand for the APTA is not unrealistic at all. I give credit the fact that we built the APTA Cup, and we've changed a lot of things recently. And with the addition to the local sites, it gives us a lot more leverage on a national scale. And what we're running into is a lot of our contacts are from certain leagues that want a focus on the Chicago area or the Boston East Coast area. And the key is, I think in time, we're going to run across the right sponsor who says it's 75 grand to reach the people we're reaching is actually a really, really affordable marketing plan. So, we're continuing to reach out, and we've talked to some bigger national sponsors. And we'll continue to do that. And I'm pretty confident that we'll see a national sponsor that will be in one of the key categories of insurance, auto, spirits, something of that nature. It's not going to be, I don't think we've already found out that we're probably not going to find a regional sponsor that goes national. And that's the key, is that we don't have a full national footprint. We're really heavily concentrated in Chicago and the Northeast, but that's also a bonus.
Thanks, Jim. Any other questions from anyone out there?
No, good information. Really appreciate the time.
Great.
And I think most of these league heads, I think, are on the Slack chain. I do the Slack channel, which I think is a really, maybe when you send out that email, I mean, you can just make sure everyone's on the Slack channel, because, in addition to these calls, I know that sort of league heads have sort of lobbed in questions, comments throughout the season this summer. And I personally found that really additive for our league board. So just want to remind everybody about that.
Yeah, very good plug. I think it's been very helpful for people. So good reminder.
I've never gotten on that. I've heard you guys talk about it. I have no idea how to get on that. So if
Right.
I would be interested,
Tim, what email address would you like me to send it to?
the one actually,
I see it. Yep.
that might work. Yeah, send it. That's fine.
Tim, for those, it's much easier to get onto Slack through your phone or iPad than it is from your PC. I've heard people have had trouble getting on through their PC. So download the app onto your phone, and when you get the invite, it's a little easier to go through it through your phone than versus your PC. But it has been a really good communication tool for sure. All right, if there are no other questions, we're going to try to keep these short and sweet and to the point. Just as a preview of what's to come, here's what we're looking at for July. We're likely going to do a Zoom call next on how leagues place new teams or deal with growing pains. It's a topic that's come up with several leagues. We'd also like to, Paddle Scores is very close to doing updates and improvements for league admins, which Nancy and Damien will walk us through. I think that'll be very helpful. And the other one for July or potentially August is do-it-yourself streaming. Lots of leagues. I heard Tim mention it earlier. Chicago is definitely doing it. And I think Pittsburgh is doing it. Lots of leagues are starting to stream some of their own league matches, some of their local tournaments. And so we want to just share that kind of information with everyone. There's a good Slack channel on that as well. And then as we get into August, we'll start to talk about PTIs again, what we're doing there. And then September, we'll get people familiar with everything we're doing towards PTI and President's Cup / Team Nationals for this coming season, as well as for what we're doing with the APTA Tour, which is new. So 5 or 6 other Zoom calls coming. This will just be the first, but thanks everyone for attending. We'll record all of them and we'll out summaries to everyone.
Amin, could I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Way back when we were sort of exploring the whole PTI thing, we talked about possible enhancements, and we in Atlanta in particular have had an enhancement. We actually run 2 websites simultaneously because of what we like and do that we call Flex Play. Where would you say we are? I know they're a limited shop with not a whole lot of resources and such. Where would you say we are, or will one of these calls address, other capabilities that, Atlanta or Chicago or whomever would want to build into PTI?
Yeah, so Damien and I have a wish list, a to-do list for Paddle Scores this off season. I'm pretty sure, Damien, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the Atlanta request is on there. I'll double check to make sure. But so we are going through a punch list. You know, Paddle Scores is going through a big upgrade of their back end, which will be very helpful for all of us. We're waiting for them to finish that. And once they're done that, Damien and I have a list of about 15 items that we need them to fix for us this year. And, you know, Pam and Tiernan will be familiar with, you know, their leagues want to see PTIs in order across every team within a club, not just within a division. And so like, that's one of 15 things we're looking for them to do. And we're trying to prioritize that for them. You know, the more people that want it, the higher it is on the list. So, well, Damien and I will circle back with you or Bruce just to make sure that request is on that list. So that's not PTI related. That's really Paddle Scores related.
Yeah.
So yes, we're working with them soon. Once they finish this upgrade, we're going to be all over them to get that stuff going.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Amin.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.